Good morning, everyone. Is Pastor Rodney Osborne here? Hi, Pastor. Hi. Go ahead.
Let us pray. Our Father God, we come this morning, Father, with thanksgiving in our heart, thanking you, God, for just allowing us to see another day, one which we've never seen before, one we'll never ever see again. God, we just thank you right now for allowing us to assemble in this place one more time, God. Thank you, God, for these leaders, God. We ask, God, and pray that you continue to bless them and that you continue to hold them, God, and give them the wisdom and the courage, God, to lead these your people in this great county of Brevard. God, we just want to tell you thank you right now just for allowing us the opportunity to come together one more time, God. We pray, God, for our troops. We pray for our law enforcement and our first responders. And God, we just want to give you the glory, the praise, and all of the honor. It is in Jesus' precious name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. And with that, I would like to welcome everyone to the Tuesday, August 16th Board of County Commissioner meeting. And with that, I'll call this meeting to order. And if you just stand and join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have no minutes for approval. So moving on to resolution awards and presentations. Melbourne-Tillman, if you folks want to come up. This is one of my favorite group of people. You can just come to the podium so you can speak after. I'll read the resolution first.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Whereas a Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District was initially authorized as an independent district in 1922 for land reclamation for agricultural development through a network of canals and levees that would divert runoff eastward to Turkey Creek. And whereas construction of the canals and levee system continued through 1928 when operations ceased due to funding difficulties, leaving the project in turmoil for decades until the water control structure, MS1, was built and became operational in 1980. And whereas the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District was recognized as a dependent district in 1986 and began a methodical program of canal rehabilitation in southern Brevard County that includes canal maintenance and access reconstruction through brush and tree removal. And whereas the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District now owns and maintains 2,300 acres of canal right-of-way and 163 miles of canals with a staff of 20 people. I don't know how you do it with 20. And a 7-member board of directors with representatives from Brevard County, the City of Palm Bay, and the City of West Melbourne. And whereas the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District continues their important work through projects such as the C1 Rediversion Project, which retains stormwater runoff within the canal right-of-way to meet total maximum daily load requirements established for the Indian River Lagoon. And whereas through its water management system, the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District promotes conservation, preserves natural resources, maintains water quality, and prevents damage from flooding in portions of unincorporated Brevard County, the City of Palm Bay, and the City of West Melbourne. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, does hereby recognize and commend the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District for constructing, reconstructing, repairing, maintaining, and operating an outstanding surface water management system in Brevard County for 100 years. Done, ordered, and adopted in regular session the 16th day of August, AD 2022. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith. Second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Zonka and Commissioners. Despite my age, I haven't served on the board the entire 100 years of its existence, I assure you. But I am honored to serve as President of the Board of Directors with my fellow board member, Drew Poshak, who's here with us today. And I'm extraordinarily proud of our 20 employees led by our district manager, Debbie Leclerc. And I'd like her to introduce some of the employees we have with us today. Debbie?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners, for recognizing the district's 100 years of service to Brevard County. Today we have part of our amazing 20-member staff. Mike McCabe is our district manager, district engineer, excuse me. John Gergen is our assistant manager of operations. George Rainbolt is facility maintenance group leader. Jacob O'Connor is our Canal Maintenance Group Leader. Alan Burbeck is the Aquatic Maintenance Group Leader. And Steve Justice is in Facility Maintenance.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
And I go back to the days in Palm Bay where Mike McCabe sat so patient with me to explain to me what TMDLs were. So thank you, Mike, and thank you, Melbourne-Tillman.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Are you doing this one, Commissioner Smith or Commissioner Pritchett?
Commissioner Pritchett.
Okay.
Ms. Therese, would you like to come up with your team? Everybody's bringing a whole row today. All right. I'm going to read the resolution, ma'am. If you want to introduce your team and say a few things, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Whereas the Brevard Humane Society, a private non-for-profit 501c3 organization, was founded in 1952 and is the oldest establishment animal welfare organization in Brevard County. Started as a small shelter established in the middle of the county and has grown over the past 70 years to become Brevard County's largest animal welfare organization. The BHS is the community's leading advocate for the homeless, displaced, and abandoned animals, and is the local leader in the no-kill movement dedicated to speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves. You offer programs and services to educate, inform, and inspire children and adults alike to take responsible care of their pets and to treat animals with the kindness they deserve. Whereas BHS operates 4 Molly Mutt thrift shops. You operate the Heavenly Paws Chapel to assist and comfort families during the peaceful passing of their pets. Brevard Bed and Biscuit. It's a premier pet hotel and a doggy daycare center to serve our community and support the mission of saving homeless animals. You operate as a pet food bank, distributing pet food to Meals on Wheels, Central Brevard Sharing Center, and other not-for-profits who help assist the families in these needs. Whereas BHS is a self-sustaining and operates solely from its services provided, retail sales, grants, and generous contributions from the community. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recognize the many and ongoing contributions of the Brevard Humane Society and congratulate the Brevard Humane Society on celebrating its 70th anniversary.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate the recognition. It is not often that you have an organization that was created by the community and is solely supported by the community that can help in so many different ways. We are focused on animals, but it benefits the human population in a number of ways, as you just mentioned. So we are very grateful for that recognition as we celebrate our 70th anniversary. Especially the last 18 years, we've really made great headway for animals in our community, and we're very proud of that. With me today, I have some board members and some staff. This is a small representation of the hundreds of volunteers that we have out in the community with us. Diane George is our treasurer, and Susan Palmbach is our secretary. And then I have staff with me. Oh, I'm sorry, and Pat. Pat Patrick is a board director. And then I have Gina, who is our operations manager at our Cocoa facility, and Sharon, who is our event coordinator, and Maggie, who is our finance administrator, and our newest employee, Sam. She does all of our media. You know, the younger you are, the more media you are good at, especially in social media. And we are very blessed to have such talented people working with us on the budget that we have. But we are super happy to see Brevard County, especially embracing animals in large part, to be part of our community. And for that, we're super grateful. And thank you, Commissioner Pritchard, for sponsoring the resolution. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do. If everybody knows anything about rescue animals, I know Teresa Clifton. So thank you for your many years of service and for your caring for our animals. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. With your permission, I'd like to read a resolution concerning the supervisor elections.
Can we have her come up?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for all you're doing. I'd like to go ahead and read this resolution and give you the opportunity. It's certainly an important time for you in your office right now. Whereas Supervisor of Elections Lori Scott has diligently served as an independent elected Supervisor of Elections for Brevard County since her first election in 2008, and whereas the lack of opposition she faced in 2012, 2016, and 2020 are demonstrative of her exemplary and phenomenal performance in her role, and whereas in the role, the sanctity of the democratic process has always been preserved by her unfaltering adherence to law and regulation, and whereas the Honorable Lori Scott began her time in public service in 1987 as a legislative aide, which included working for Representative Bill Posey, and whereas prior to running for her office, Supervisor Scott served nearly 8 years as a legislative aide to Senate President Mike Herodopoulos, and whereas since repeatedly being elected as supervisors or elections, Supervisor Scott has also served as the Florida Supervisor Elections State Association Legislative Affairs Chair, and whereas the Honorable Lori Scott currently serves as the FSE Board of Directors and the Vice Chair of the Administrative Rules Committee, and whereas in 2020, Supervisor Scott was named Best of Brevard by the Florida Today for her seamless management of elections during an unprecedented pandemic, and whereas the Supervisor of Elections Office serves Brevard County's 450,000 plus electors, the 10th largest in the state, and whereas the office efficiently facilitates voting collections and dissemination of information, ensures the security of the electoral process, and whereas staff members in the Brevard County Supervisor Elections Office are always prompt and professional when providing assistance and are vastly knowledgeable about the organizational procedures, whereas the Brevard County Supervisor Elections Office received the United States Election Assistance Commission National Clarity Award for poll worker training in 2016, and whereas the Brevard County Supervisor Elections Office and the Honorable Lori Scott were commended by the Florida Today in 2014 for their unrivaled efficiency in conducting elections by collecting 104,000 ballots before regular polling places opened, and whereas in 2018, the Palm Beach Post ran an article admiring the Brevard County Supervisor elections for perfect vote recount, the only of the top 20 counties in Florida to do so. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Brevard County Supervisor Elections is instrumental in ensuring the proper functionality of government and consists of dedicating and exceptional civil service and unsurpassable performance of Supervisor Scott has proved an essential component of the continued success and dependability of the office, done, ordered, and adopted in regular session the 16th day of August 2022. Make a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
One thing I left off here, and I haven't talked to Supervisor Scott about this, my dad always serves as my treasurer, and Supervisor Scott has updated and made it more efficient on computers, which is the exact opposite the way my dad wants it. But the time her staff has dedicated, my dad got off the phone more comfortable with computers, which is very scary to me. But the patience to not just elected officials, the folks that work with elected officials is admirable. And I have trouble telling my dad how to use the remote control. So I greatly, all this stuff is wonderful, but your one-on-one interaction with the community is extremely commendable. Thank you for all you do. And we're at an important point. If you want to, I would love to get more people out to vote.
Absolutely, and we're 7 days away from the August 23rd primary. So I stole this team over for a moment of recognition because it's really all about them. I mean, we talk about it takes a village, but in this case, it really does. I have a 26-member staff that is incredibly dedicated, and I have 6 of them with me today. We couldn't do this. I mean, with 455,000 voters, we're the 10th largest voting population and the 3rd largest state in the nation. Collectively, these 26 people have 196 years of election experience, and I'm incredibly blessed to work with them every day. And right now, it literally is every day. And thank you, Commissioner, so much for that recognition. It really goes to them and Brevard's very dedicated 1,100 poll workers that during 2020, in the middle of a global pandemic, because of their patriotism to our democracy and their commitment to this county and its voters, did not hesitate to come out and literally risk their lives. You know, we all have our personal ways of measuring our success. And for me, it's being blessed to do what I love, for a county I love, with the people I love. And I am incredibly blessed and honored to have the support not only of the commission, but of my fellow constitutionals. You know, together we just have a wonderful relationship, and it makes Brevard better as a whole. So thank you so much, but this is really a reflection of them and their dedication, and I couldn't do it without them, so thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Pritchett?
Ms. Scott, I just want to say we've all got to spend days with you.
And loved every minute, right?
Yes, ma'am, but you do have a wonderful staff. They are really efficient. They're on their job. And I really have to say, after watching the process you run and all the things that we've got to sit through, whenever anybody asks me questions, I always say Lori Scott runs a tight ship.
Thank you.
I don't have any stress or heartburn over it because I know every vote's going to be accurate. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank Tim and all you guys. You guys are awesome, and thank you for what you do.
And I need to quickly introduce, because I don't want to be remiss in that. Donna Griffin is my precinct and polling manager. She takes care of our 1,100 poll workers and does a phenomenal job, and has how many years, Donna? 36 years in the election office. Started when she was 3. So Tim Bobanek, my IT director, who spends a lot of time talking to your dad and has walked him and is an amazing of talking to anybody about computers. My chief deputy, Karen Graham, who is my right hand, left hand, and everything in between. She just does an amazing job. I'm so honored to have her with me. Judy Moran is my executive assistant. She tells me where to go every day and what I need to be doing and keeps me on track. Melissa Tarrant is our mail ballot manager, who is very, very, very busy at the moment, so I stole her over. And Kimberly Belsner, who is my communications director and does a lot of interaction with our community and answering those questions on social media, so I want to thank them.
Thank you. And I think I've dealt with almost all of you in one capacity, as a voter, as a candidate, as a canvassing board member.
Canvassing board.
Thank you so much for everything you
thank
do. We
you.
appreciate you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to mention that recently I had the opportunity to look up professionalism in a dictionary, and oddly enough, your picture and your staff picture is in there. Is that amazing?
Thank you.
Very amazing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to shout out to our Clerk of Courts, Rachel Sandoff's here as well, and she's over there, and a shout out to Miss Dana Blickley. And Dana, I just want to thank you for all the work you do in the homeless veterans. It was a wonderful evening Friday, and you've done it for years, and I just really appreciate all your work with that. It's huge. Thank you.
Consent, does anybody have anything pulled? Commissioner Tobias?
Yes, Madam Chair. F8, please.
All right, and I have no cards. All right, can I get a motion to approve consent minus F8?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think this was just a clerical issue. But according to the agenda report, the Ad Valorem Tax Council has been using the same annual wages since 2015, and they use 2013 numbers. So thankfully, they've decided to update it. But I think, again, it was a clerical issue, and they used the 2018 numbers instead of the 2020 numbers. So my motion would be simply to accept this with the most recent and current numbers of the average salary, that being 2020 instead of 2018. That's the singular change to the agenda item, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Commissioner Tobias, do you have that number with you by any chance?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I do. The 2021, and again, this is from the state of Florida and looks at Brevard County, is 55328. The one they have down there is 49128. So it's a delta of about $6,000.
Well, that's pretty good. Okay, I second this motion, ma'am.
All right, I have a motion with the changes, second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Kevin Panic? When you're ready.
Honorable Commissioners, fellow citizens, and staff, good morning. My name is Kevin Panic, District 1, Titusville, Florida, Brevard County resident for 46 years. I've stood at this podium 8 times in the last 7 years on a topic of routine mowing over roadside litter. I don't see any reason to go into the topic as I've done it for 7 years. I would like to just say a little bit about the journey through time to get to this point. In the early days, year 1 or 2, I actually had the ability to contact staff and get it on the agenda. I literally could write an email and the topic would appear on the published agenda in print. That was pretty cool. I did that for a couple years. And I noticed I wasn't making any traction. So then I got the bright idea to put it in old business. So I told the staff, I said, go ahead and move that to old business because I've been coming here for a number of years and there doesn't seem to be any traction. So I think if you look at the records, and again, these are dates, if you don't believe I've been here, these are the dates of when I was here for 7 years. And I think I got it on the agenda that one time under old business. But you guys, but then the rules changed. And the next year I called to put it under old business. They said, commissioners are the only ones that have authority to write on the agenda. So that stopped that in its tracks. And then I was working with Don, and I'd send Don my charts every year. This is the thing, he and I knew, August come around, I'd send him the charts. And then this year I got a surprise. I sent Don the charts, this little video or something, and he's like, Kevin, got to run it by the commissioners now. So I thought that was interesting. So I guess at this point, the common sense thing about saying, I pick up litter before I mow over it, and You know, my grandfather, I remember the days of him changing oil by kicking a hole in the sand, and you always made sure to put fresh sand over top of it. And that's kind of what's happening with this mowing over the right-of-way litter, is you just mow it over another week, another month, and the grass covers it up and everything. So it's, after a while, it's not visible, but it's there. So I have 30 seconds, and last year made the final thing that when I wasn't afforded 30 more seconds to finish my thought in front of this board, I couldn't believe it, so I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, just a response on that. If anybody wants something on the agenda, you just go see your commissioner or any commissioner, and if they'll sponsor it, you can put it on. So this item, it's a problem, but the problem is trying to afford somebody to pick up garbage before the guys go mow. The real problem we have is people littering, and I wish we could solve this problem, but it's a really pretty big problem on the sides of the road. So if anybody's hearing this, I would ask you, please don't throw your garbage out the window.
Tom Unrath?
Good morning, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Tom Unrath. I live just north of the Sun Tree area, District 1, Commissioner Smith. I want to say thank you to your commission, to all of you, and to your predecessors for allowing us to have the lease as 100-acre hollows with the piece of property, that 114 acres that we do. The reason that we're here today is to honor a couple of students who have been with us since before the beginning of 100-acre hollows, Yuliang Huang and Ana Maria Tea. I'm going to speak a little bit about Yuliang. He was actually had an article in the paper last week. He is going to be going to the University of Florida next week, as is Ana Maria. Thank you to you and your predecessors for allowing them to work with us. We have been in our lease, it says we should be conservation and education. These two students are going to be using what they have learned in working with 100-acre hollows to go to the University of Florida. Ana Maria is going to be pursuing environmental engineering, a STEM kind of program. Yuliang is going to be going into University of Florida with computer engineering. He has been working with us to do geolocation of gopher tortoise burrows, which has allowed us to document the number of gopher tortoises that are out there. Yuliang's dad, Lishan, works for the county, actually. I talk with my hands and knock microphones all over the place. His dad has been working with Yuliang for many years, and Yuliang is an absolutely exemplary student. He has, like I said, done work with us, using his knowledge to help us, to help the county, to document what is on the county property. I could go on and talk for a lot longer, but I know this is going to be a long agenda day. I just wanted to lift up Yuliang and thank you for the opportunities to have these students to continue their education. We have another student, Hugo Byrne, who is now on our board, as these two students have been. He's planning on going to the Coast Guard Academy, and will be using his work with 100-acre hollows to assist him in that endeavor as well. So again, thank you, and appreciate the opportunity to continue working with and for the county.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom, do you know how many gopher tortoises there are out there?
Not exactly the number of tortoises. We have 467 burrows.
Wow.
Located. Tortoises don't actually line up for us to count them. They just don't obey those memos.
How about bobcats?
Just got a picture of a family of 4 bobcats a couple of weeks ago. So this is, we have deer out there, lots of other things. Anita, who will be coming up here momentarily, has a report that she'll be handing out to all of you.
Thank you.
Anita, you're next. You can tell you're a pastor, Mr. Unrath.
I didn't say a prayer for you, not today. So far.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, public. Thank you, Anna Maria and Yu Liang, for all you've done for us. My name is Anita Unrath. I live at 1170 Ida Way in Melbourne. I want to thank the Commission for giving us the opportunity, giving us citizens the opportunity to do something where the county didn't really know what to do with the property. They were trying to sell it, and for 200 more houses, there's only one access on an empty lot between two houses. And literally, when we signed the lease with the county, there was no entrance there. So that was in November of 2016. It was July of 2015 when the previous commissioners voted to not sell it. They did have a couple of bids on the property. And then everybody said, well, what will we do with it? We had a year to study the property. Some Brevard County teachers helped us with that. They had camera traps out there, and they really did a great job of finding what lives there besides gopher tortoises, the bobcats, the eastern spotted skunk, which is rare, and other animals. And we, the day we were talking in October about, it came before the county, trying to figure out what to do with the property, Yu Liang was receiving an award from the county. And I thought to myself, my goodness, this young man works with GPS. I wonder if he'd be interested. And I literally ran out after he received his resolution, and I asked him in the hallway, would you be interested in helping us? So Yu Liang has been there from the beginning with his drone pictures, with measuring the altitude of the basins. The two northern basins are 31 feet above sea level, and you have 20-foot pine trees growing there now. The last time the county mowed the property in the basins was January of 2015. So the plants that have come back, the native plants, there's a very rare plant called blue sky lupine, and there's an endangered butterfly that only uses that plant. We saw that plant out there this year. Now, Anna Maria, she did her Girl Scout Silver Award for us with the entrance signs, and she presented a project to do her Girl Scout Gold Award with us. I thought it was she was going to make these wonderful signs. You can see those in the packet. And I thought that was her project. Oh, no. She had to teach the public something. So she had an event at the end of March with 25 volunteers who helped, and 95 public came to see what was going on. And so she's an amazing young woman who is not yet 18. Her birthday is Election Day, the 23rd. Yu Liang just turned 18. He won this wonderful award at the International Environmental Systems Research Institute at the ESRI conference at the age of 17. He won this award, first place in spatial analysis category. We are so proud of these young people and everything they have offered to us. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to personally thank Tom and Anita for their dedicated service to 100 Acre Hollows and to the community. They've been, excuse me, they've been there from the beginning. They knocked on my commissioner's door way back in, I think, 2015, and said that we have this jewel in the middle of all this development, and now you guys want to sell this jewel. And we think a better purpose would be to allow it to maintain its natural habitat. And so I went out there and I walked around the place with them and their friends, and they assured me that if somehow we, the community, the commissioners, could save this property from being sold to a developer, which we had one that had made an offer of $2.2 million, that they would work very hard, very diligently, and make this something that would be special to their community and special to the county. And they've done that. They've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours. They've recruited hundreds of people to help them. And I would highly recommend to my fellow commissioners to take a trip out there and contact Tom and Anita and let them show you around and walk you around. And I would extend that invitation to the community as well. They've done just a wonderful job out there, and it's just amazing how hard they work at it. So just want to thank you guys. You've done a terrific job.
Thank you. Moving on to, I have no more public comment cards. Item H1. Staff's going to introduce the item.
Good morning, Commissioners. H1 is a petition to vacate a portion of a public utility easement located at 591 South Sonora Circle, Indialantic, District 5. The property owners have requested this vacate for pool construction. There are no objections to the vacate.
All right. I have no issues with it. Commission, it's your pleasure.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Smith. Did you want to speak?
Nope.
All
I'm
those
good.
in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, item H2.
Good morning, Commissioners. H2 is adopting the resolution establishing user fees for the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District for fiscal year 2022-2023. And there was a public hearing last week within the district where these proposed fees were heard and approved.
Commission?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Tobias. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. You guys can escape if you like. All right, moving on to item H2. Oops, H3, sorry.
H3 is a request from the Sheriff's Office. It's permission to participate in and accept the fiscal year 2021 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Pritchett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item I1.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mary Ellen Donner, Brevard County Parks and Recreation Department Director. At the May 3rd Commission meeting, staff was directed to explore options on transferring the state lease agreements associated with Nance and Sunrise Parks in the city of Indialantic. We did so. We reached out to the town of Indialantic, and they expressed an interest in exploring the possibility of having the direct lease with the state. I also reached out to the state and was sent an application for the use of state-owned uplands from the Board of Trustees that each of the parties would need to complete to see if this would be a possibility. So I was looking for direction from the board as to what path you'd like me to go. Continue to perhaps explore this and submit applications, or leave the state lease with the county and then a sublease to the town of Indialantic.
Commissioner Smith?
I would like to see this go forward. So if you need a motion, I'll make it.
Yes, sir.
Which direction?
I
Option
think
one?
Yes, option one.
All right.
Does
Commissioner
that work
Tobias,
for
this
you?
was your,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. This is something that I think is good for the county. I think it's good for the city as well. They won't have to come to us for permits, and appreciate your work putting this together.
There is one caveat, a couple of caveats. We need to make sure that we preserve the county's right for the use of beach renourishment with the town of Indialantic, and we'd also like to remember to retain the right for the stormwater infrastructure that the county installed. But those could be items that would need to be worked out with the town of Indialantic.
I'll include them in my motion.
Please.
okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Tobias. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Item J1.
Morning, Commissioners. Item J1 is the review and approval of the Tourism Marketing and Media Plan for 2022-23. It's a $9.78 million budget. It also includes renewal and renegotiation of our agency contract. We were able to renegotiate and seek a $73,000 savings over the next, every year for the next 3 years.
Commissioner, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith for approval.
Second, quick discussion. I got to sit through the presentation. It's really pretty good. But I just want to echo something I had brought up, and you guys listened to me on that. I think probably we need to do a little more USSSA's projects and their, the tourism they're bringing in. I think that might benefit us a little bit more as a county for tourism tax.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item J2.
Good morning. Item J2 is the request of authorization and allocation of ARPA funds in two ways. One is for up to $1.866 million to upgrade the property appraiser's GIS infrastructure. The second is $1.2 million to upgrade the public safety radio system communications backbone to P25 standards. Additionally, we're asking for a one-time, or for approval of a one-time fee of $372 per radio user at a municipal level. That'll net about $1 million in revenue. So if you add the 1.2 we're asking for, plus the 1 million we get from the cities, we already have 1.2 from existing funds. That gets us to the 3.4 that we need to complete the project. We worked with the cities, they're on board, and we're excited to move forward.
That's great. Commissioner Pritchett?
I do have a quick question here. From my understanding, we still haven't gotten any response from the city as far as chipping in the 1.3 million. So my question would be, if we move forward with this, what will happen with that 1.3 million we'll still have a deficit on?
Are you speaking to the GIS infrastructure?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there actually is a shortfall. If the cities don't participate, there'd be a shortfall of 600,000. We would have to be working with the property appraiser who recognizes that. She did agree, and we had met with various city managers. There was no firm commitment from them. We are bringing this forward so that the county share, as it relates based on acreage available in the county and what's unincorporated, including all the areas like Kennedy Space Center, et cetera. That's where these numbers came out, that our portion of it was the 1.86 million. And so if in fact we don't get city participation, we would have to look at how that additional $600,000 would be made up. It might be possible to come back to the board and still utilize ARPA funding, because it would be available unless the board allocates it another way. But that's pending. We are hopeful that the cities see the value, because it is beneficial for all the municipalities to get this GIS upgrade. So that's what we're going to be working toward with the property appraiser to see if we can get that accomplished.
Thank you, sir, because it is going to benefit the cities as well. This is really a project for them as well, correct?
Absolutely.
So it would be really appropriate for them to come to the table with some of these funds as well.
Right, and as we indicated in there is no mandate that this move forward at this point. So the property appraiser is trying to be proactive, realizing that it is an improvement that benefits the whole system, the whole county, including the private sector. So it's one that, she is anxious to move forward on if we can have it funded.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna make a motion to approve it, but I just wanted to say I think the cities need to examine this and step up too.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett. Second by Commissioner Tobias. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I'm concerned also that if the cities see that we're willing to step up and do this on our own, does that cause them to just back off and say, well, they're going to do it anyway?
I'm not saying that we're going to do it, Commissioner. I'm saying, obviously, we came in with the hope and the intent that it only be municipalities. The question was, you know, it's always a matter of priorities, and the board would have to make a determination if, in fact, we don't get the city's participation, whether or not you would want to go forward. We have not made any kind of commitment that we would look to do that.
Well, then I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Smith. And I would just say, you know, if we could get those numbers, so when we have those discussions with the cities, we could ask, maybe, you know, you can divide it equally amongst the cities, or you can divide it by proportion of the number of, you know, properties or that'll be covered by the GIS system, and maybe just say, this is our ask, and if it's a more concrete number, they may be more apt to help.
And there are concrete numbers. They have been provided them, yes.
Okay, great.
You're right, Commissioner.
Because I don't have a problem going to the council meeting and asking.
And that may be what needs to happen. We'll see.
Okay. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any approved? Oh, any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item J3.
Good morning, Commissioners. This item is to discuss the proposed charter amendments to the Brevard County Home Rule Charter. The Charter Review Commission has met over the last year. Their first meeting was August 12th. They elected Mike Herodopoulos as chair. In total, the commission met 11 times. They considered 24 proposals from the public and from the members. They set the threshold that 10 members had to approve any proposal before it advanced on. Of the 24, you have 6 proposals that are in front of you that met the 10-vote threshold. A quick summary of the 6 items is number 1, the 3-person panel review, where they review amendments and bring back whether they think it meets the ballot. The Charter Review Commission asked that any rejections be brought back to the county commissioners or the Charter Review Board. The current charter is unclear what to do if something's rejected. Item number 2 is that requires a 60% vote from the voters for an amendment to pass as opposed to 50%. Item number 3 adds the recall and replacement of school board members under Florida Statute 100.361, similar to county commissioners, property appraisers, and other county officials. Item number 4 is a number of changes to the 3-person panel. They would report and be selected by the Charter Review Commission. They'd have to explain the rationale if they rejected an amendment and provide a cure, and it would extend the term of the Charter Review Commission to consider rejections. Item number 5 is filling a commissioner's vacancy. Right now, our charter says 1 year or less. It would be up to the governor. The state law right now is 28 months or less. It'd be selected by the governor. So item number 5 corrects that conflict in law. And then item number 6 adds language for a workforce and supportive housing trust fund. The 3-panel selection, the 3-panel review commission attorneys, they determined that items number 1, 4, 5, and 6 meet the requirements of embracing one subject, consistent with the Florida Constitution, general law, and the charter, and they determined, at least 2 of them determined that items 2 and 3 did not meet those standards.
Okay, I have one card. Mr. Tredis? And if you need extra time, considering that you dedicated your time to 11 meetings in a year sitting on the Charter Review Commission, I'll just let you speak. Just don't take 30 minutes.
Great.
Go ahead.
I won't. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Blaise Tredis. I was appointed to the Charter Review Commission, and I'm here in particular to speak about the recall of school board member proposal. You've heard Mr. Leisenfeld say that that did not get at least 2 out of 3 of the attorneys to say that it was consistent with state law. I want to point out to you that under the current charter, you are allowed, certainly it's permissible for you to vote approval of a Charter Review Commission proposal. And that's what I'm asking you today to do is grant approval for the recall of school board members. I'd like to point out that the 3 attorneys on this issue of school board recall, the one law firm of Gray Robinson refused to render an opinion, which is quite strange to me because that's what they were paid to do. But they said, we're just not going to make the call on this one. Another law firm which said that disagreed with the proposal is James Dinkins of CF Law. And the interesting thing that I'd like to point out about his opinion, commissioners, is that he concluded that it would likely be unenforceable if adopted. He didn't find that it was inconsistent with state law. And the reason he found that it would likely be unenforceable if adopted is his opinion was that school board members have to be, if there is a vacancy, have to be appointed by the governor. Now, he cited statute 1001.38, vacancies held filled, which I'll read, quote, the office of any district school board member shall be vacant when the member removes his or her residence from the district school board member residence area from which he or she was elected. All vacancies on the district school board shall be filled by appointment by the governor, end quote. So specifically, this statute applies for vacancies because the school board member does not live in their district. There was actually a case where this happened in Florida in the last year where the governor, DeSantis, removed a school board member in Gainesville because she did not live in the district, never did live in the district. And this is specifically what this applies to, that vacancy. That's not what we're talking about in the school board recall. So I would submit that this attorney's citation to this statute as the basis for his disagreement with the proposal is erroneous, wrong, and should be disregarded. So you have what I submit as a wrong opinion, no opinion, and then an opinion which says it's consistent with state law and it meets the single subject requirement. This proposal was greatly debated. It was unanimously approved by 13-0 by the Charter Review Commission. It had support, its final version at least, had support from all aspects of the community. There was no one opposed to it. All it does is add school board members to the list of county officers, county constitutional officers who can be recalled by recall election. So I would ask you to use your discretion in this instance and vote approval of this resolution. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Tredis? Commissioner Pritchett?
I watched almost all your meetings. You do talk a lot. But I don't disagree with you. I listened to you guys' conversations, and I didn't know we would get this opportunity, so I'm curious to hear what you guys say. I think everybody that has an elected position should have the opportunity for the people to remove them if something's really out of line. And I think there's protections in there too if that happens, so that you just don't have a group of people with the wild hair that just do something emotional, which is scary too. But Mr. Leisenberg, I'm sorry, Jim. I know not to say anybody's last names, but can you tell us the rundown on why they had heartburn over this?
Of the two, Civ Forge law, CF law, his language he put is why Resolution 2022-03 contains procedurally appropriate proposed charter amendment. That amendment would likely be unenforceable if adopted. This is because, first, the exercise of county authority is outside the scope of what a county charter may encompass, and second, because some specific provisions expressly conflict with state statute. And then Gray Robinson, their language was, in summary, we reluctantly advise the Brevard County Charter Review Commission that we can provide no assurance to the validity of proposed amendment number 3 should it be placed on the ballot and approved by Brevard County voters. And then both of them had several pages of backup showing it all.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for all your work, though. I certainly do appreciate it.
Does anybody have any more questions for Mr. Tredis?
Thank you.
Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you. Mr. Tredis, have you spoken with any state officials? I know Representative or Chairman Fine is mine, and if it is in conflict, and I'm not saying it is because I'm not an attorney, but do you know where they would stand on this as far as potentially correcting or clarifying state statute?
I have not spoken to any state representatives, so I really cannot say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think what we're sort of stuck with is a yes and a no and a non-opinion, essentially.
Well, what the charter says is if you, two members of the panel find the proposed amendment embraces, all the requirements, then you shall place the proposed charter amendment on the ballot for consideration. So that would be items 1, 4, 5, and 6, and then we'll follow whatever directions you would like for 2 and 3.
Commissioner Pritchett? Oh, Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm sorry, again, I have no legal training whatsoever, but did a constitutional officer just suggest that we as a board would have the ability to unilaterally put that on the board? I assume that would need unanimous on the ballot. I'm sorry. There are other protections on there. If the other one passes that requires it to go from 50 to 60, would that not raise the necessary number for a recall? So I guess two different questions there.
When you read and I'll give you, I am an attorney, but I'm not functioning in that capacity. The charter says what you're mandated to do if in fact two of the three attorneys said that it is valid and met all the criteria, which those 4 did. It does not say that you don't have the right, if it's questionable, that you can't still put it on the ballot. I believe that's what was said, that you do have the discretion to do that. So that's for the recall. And now let's address the second issue. The second issue on the charter going to 60%, there is the reasoning, Jim could go over that as to why they said that. And the board in the past has looked at what might potentially rectify any deficiency that the attorney said. And so if you ask that question, staff could provide an answer to you on what modification could be made to make that other provision on 60% pass the muster to put it on the ballot.
Yep.
If you'd like to hear that,
Yep.
Jim can discuss it.
Yes. For item number 2, the 50% versus 60%, in the charter, there's 2 different methods to approve amendments. Under Section 3 is amendments by the county commissioners and by petition, and that was the language that the Charter Review Commission said we wanted 60%. There's also the Section 7.4, which is amendments by Charter Review Commission. In there, it says 50%. The Charter Commission didn't address that. If the board would like, under 7.4.12, instead of just required a majority of the registered electors, you can say 60% of the registered elected registers. We sent that language on to the one attorney that had an issue with saying it didn't meet state law because the ballot did not explain it covers everything, and he says that change let me make sure. In summary, when applied, the updated proposed language meets the general law requirements and the summary is not misleading. So adding the 60% to 7.4.12 would fix item number 2, but it would require all 4 votes of the board.
Are you done, Commissioner Pritchett? Okay.
So, Commissioners, if you wanted to consider that, we did a draft of what that resolution would look like to fix it. If you would like to see that, I can pass them down.
Mr. Tredis?
Madam Chair, what was the vote on the first one was unanimous? Do you remember the vote?
It was unanimous on 60% as well.
Okay.
And I'd like to just point out that this morning I just reviewed these attorney opinions, and what I came up with is 2 out of the 3 attorneys found that the 60% proposal was fine. And that would have been Gray Robinson and CF Law, James Dinkins. At page 3 of Gray Robinson, it said, quote, the proposed charter amendment. Oh, wait, this one is not good. Okay. sorry, 60% is consistent with state law is James Dinkins, CF Law, and also on neighbors Giblin and Nickerson, it's 60% is consistent with state law. It's at page 6 of neighbors Gibbard Nicholson. Quote, the text of the proposed amendment is consistent with the general laws of Florida. And on the CF law, it's at page 4, quote, while resolution 2022-002 contains a proposal that is consistent with the Florida Constitution, general law, and the Brevard County Charter, the proposed ballot summary is deficient in that misleads voter in believing that change threshold will apply to all proposed charter amendments, not just those proposed by the petition or by the county commission, end quote. I would just like to point out that that ballot language is not part of the analysis that's to be done in the charter. It's just whether it's not consistent with state law. So that proposed language on the ballot, it's just not part of the analysis. I know all three law firms got into it, but I submit that it's just surplusage, I guess you'd call it, or unnecessary. But the bottom line is I believe 2 out of 3 law firms found it to be consistent with state law. Thank you.
If I may, and I know you were on there, wasn't it the intent, though, for 60% to be in all the cases, including review of any charter proposal? Because that's really the amendment that we have here, is to make sure that there's specific language that says the Charter Review Commission would still be at 50%. And yes, and that's why that's a second provision that would say it applies to 60% for all, whether it's from the board or the Charter Review Commission.
That was definitely the intent.
And that's what your intent was, right?
That definitely was the intent.
And that's what this resolution, as it's been modified, would take care of doing.
I think it just cleans it up.
Okay, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying that I think that I wanted to sort of maybe just state that I believe that the 2 out of the 3 attorneys found it to be okay, but if it's a clarification that's good, then that's
And that's
fine.
what it would be, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pritchett? Oh, Old Lake. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll throw this out. I don't want to pick and choose between these. I appreciate the work that everyone did from different walks of Brevard County, lay people, attorneys, Republicans, Democrats, men and women. I know this needs unanimous support. I would hope that we wouldn't, again, pick and choose one or the other, but I would support both of these, just to throw that out. The revised one that the county attorney's office nicely did, as well as the recall one that brings it in line with the other ones. Again, I know it's unanimous, but I would support both of them.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like the resolution. It cures the issue that I have with number 2, so I would support number 2.
All right. What about number 3?
Well, I would just, maybe I missed this, but why did James Dinkins think it was likely unenforceable? Do you have any idea, Blaze? I'm just wondering if you know, maybe we could cure that problem. If not, I'm ready to go forward with it. And
I think his opinion was that if home charter rule is expansive, but not quite that expansive. It was his argument. He didn't argue that it was inconsistent with state law, which is, I submit, is the criteria in the charter for them to look at, but that it exceeded the scope of county charter rule to extend it to school board, I believe.
And clearly you don't agree with that. Right. Okay, I'm good. I'll support both.
Okay. And obviously, if if the county or the electorate, if we ever tried to do anything that was against state law, that would be a whole other hurdle to overcome. But I don't like the fact that one didn't opine. I think that, and I do agree with Mr. Trudis that some of their explanations were outside the scope of what they were required to do as a 3-member panel. I would say, I'm going to support all of these items to move forward because that was the intent. I mean, I've sat through hours watching their meetings as well. I would just caution, in the future, like I know the future charter review commissions will have their own panel. I would just come up with recommend to the county that you come up with a method for them to help decide, you know.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, Commissioner. Yeah, even though the panel would be selected by them, report to them, they would still have to go through our procurement system. That would be the best way.
Yeah,
So then
probably,
we can
and
provide them
almost-
the
yeah.
direction.
Okay. Can I get a motion? So move with the corrections to the clarification.
Yes, clarifications.
On
that
item-
Have been presented, yes.
Was that item 2 or 3?
Let's do 2.
No, I'm going to support all of the,
Well,
all
I
of
just
the
think we should
ballot.
have a vote on both, so I would.
I think we need to
It could be
vote on.
done in one motion.
We can vote
Oh,
on
we can?
everything.
Okay,
I just
well
want to
then-
make sure that those corrections for clarification
Okay,
get in there as
yes,
well.
then
So, okay, that
let's-
includes that?
Let's do that.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to support all of the items moving forward for ballot with the updated corrections, second by Commissioner Pritchett. Any further discussion? I have no more cards. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and thank you for all of the work on the Charter Review Commission and the work of staff, and I know it's something we do quickly in a meeting, but we can't thank you enough for your service to the board and your research and your expertise, so thank you.
And how many hours was that? Did anybody keep track of the number of hours?
Days and days.
Lots and lots.
To 30, 40 hours maybe?
And that's just what was broadcasted. That wasn't the time spent outside of meetings.
Correct. That doesn't count what the members did on their own researching and putting stuff together, yes.
God bless them. And I feel so strongly about that I'm taking my members to breakfast on Friday.
Hey,
Just as a thank you.
now we all better take our members to breakfast.
That's why I mentioned it.
Can mine just go with you?
Sure.
All right. So moving on to item J4. Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Affordable housing, as you've been the spearhead on this one, certainly is a crisis not only across the country but singularly in our county. Organizations such as the Brevard Justice Ministry have repeatedly approached the board to address this concern through the creation of a trust fund, and we'll get to Brevard Justice Ministry just a little bit later. But fortunately, CRAs exist across this county that are capable and have funds to address this crisis. In fact, Florida state statute reads, and I quote, "Provide for the development of affordable housing in the area or state the reason for not addressing the plan, the development of affordable housing." So the folks that created CRAs in Tallahassee long before I got there recognized that affordable housing was so important. If you didn't do it, you had to give a reason why. So I put together just proposed a letter. It's in everyone's agenda. It's just one page, and it's meant to be sent to the CRAs to let them know just how serious we are concerning affordable housing. And we'd prefer the resources be used for affordable housing instead of, and I don't want to go over, but I can, many of the, I don't want to say wastes, but I mean, I could go over them, just how bad they were addressing the need of affordable housing. To be clear, this would not go to all the CRAs. There are a number that are winding down or do not have any resources available because unfortunately they bonded it out. So this would go to the Cocoa Downtown CRA, Melbourne CRA, Titusville CRA, Myra, City of Cocoa Beach CRA, City of Cape Canaveral CRA, City of Rockledge CRA, and the City of Cocoa Diamond Square CRA. I have the TIF payments if anyone's interested for 2022, but they look to be well in excess of $3.5 million. It is, I don't want to say a demand letter, but it certainly requests very strongly that the CRA get together in the next 60 days and provide us with a plan of how they are going to attack the problem of affordable housing. So that's the letter. Instead of sending it out from my office, I thought it would carry more weight if it was from the entire board, Madam Chair. And I'm more than willing to any changes. This was just 3 paragraphs as a suggestion.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to offer my full support to the letter. I like the way it's written, and as a point of fact, I had Myra in my office yesterday, and this was a topic of discussion, and they brought it up, not me. And they're moving forward with some ideas on this exact proposal, not your proposal. I mean, this subject matter, they're moving forward on that. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I think that meeting came after Commissioner Tobias brought it up in a public
Yeah,
meeting, but.
Might have.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to them for not just sitting back.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Commissioner Tobias, I would like to throw a paragraph in before your last line, just to kind of make it not sound quite so mean. I think if we put in there, we would encourage you to consider this community crisis and make this funding part of your scope. And then maybe we look forward to hearing some response from you over the next 60 days. I think that would be a little bit softer, because I think the cities do typically with these are trying to work with us. So I think that would be a little kinder, sir. This was written like a teacher. So I just want to throw in that. You know, something else we can consider, I love Commissioner Zonka's idea of working with those funds coming in from tourists coming in. But there's something else we could do, is we can actually start a county CRA district where it's in the unincorporated areas, all those places that have development. We take those funds and use them towards affordable housing as well. Just a thought, since we're talking about CRAs, it's something to consider and chew on, so.
All right, and I would just add, you know, you referenced the state statute where it's required that they either make it part of their plan or they may explain why it's not, I guess. I would like to see that in the letter. Just say, you know, as, you know, I know you mentioned that that's the purpose, but I would say, you know, it is required.
Madam Chair, in each plan, we looked over plans, offer that, I don't want to say excuse, but an excuse for not spending it on. And remember, these were created to help us with, or help the community of slum and blight. I put draft on the background. I'm more than willing, if that makes it a kinder letter, if you catch more, whatever, bees with, or bears with honey or whatever, flies, whatever, I'm more than willing to add whatever. This was just a initial draft. I'm very happy no one picked out any spelling errors. And that's another reason, if Kristine's name's on it, then I can blame her for the spelling errors. But I would be more than willing to add either one or both of those suggestions to the letter.
Yeah, I'd like, just so it's clear, so it's a reminder to them that, you know.
The only thing I was looking for was the 60 days. I think there needs to be a deadline for us to get something in return. And I think 60 days gives them plenty of time to meet and come up with some ideas and send them to us.
Okay. Good? Guys good?
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of authority, but I think if we do this, they're going to.
Don't say that.
Okay. I don't think we have time to waste, so how's that?
Yeah. All right, do we need a motion?
Okay, motion to allow the chair to send out the letter on behalf of the board with the suggested changes.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item J5. Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is regarding the school millage. I wanted to bring this up for a couple reasons, and I'll go over those as briefly as possible. Reason one, this came up at the Planning and Zoning meeting on May 26, 2022, and I'm not quite certain that we should deal with a potential tax increase of 1/5 of $1 billion on a Planning and Zoning meeting in a consent agenda. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, I wanted to give Commissioner Smith the opportunity to come back on the other side. He mentioned that he was not voting for this, therefore it was dead. So I want to, if he's gone one way, I want to give you the opportunity to come back onto the, I don't want to say the dark side, but I will say the conservative side. And here's reason four. This is greatly going to affect affordable housing should this pass. I've got a bunch of newspaper articles that I'm more than willing to pass out here. But the Orlando Sentinel addressed the issue in a 2015 article regarding property tax burdens shifting to renters. One of the landlords stated, if it's my choice, I can either go broke or pass the tax along to renters. A study done by MIT, Center for Real Estate, found conclusively that, quote, rents rise after tax changes sufficient to absorb 80 to 90% of the changes in landlord tax payments. Raising taxes generally harms renters who are already struggling to make ends meet. So I did a little math here so we can put a dollar figure on this. According to the Brevard County Property Appraiser, the median market value for a single-family residence in Brevard County is approximately $250,000. The 2021-2022 adopted millage rate is 3.561, which is on a $250,000 home, annual taxes of $891. If this was to pass, again, we're just putting on the ballot, but if this was to pass, annual taxes would rise somewhere in the neighborhood of $250, which is an extra $20.83 per month onto renters. Again, if you only use the MIT numbers, that drops to $15, but still that adds up. And remember, this will increase faster as investment property is not subject to that same 3% cap that homestead is. And finally, let me deal with the last one, and you may disagree with me on all this stuff, but I think this is the most important part here, and I just want to get a little agreement in here. The Brevard Justice Ministry are frauds, and let me tell you why. My office has done more by sending not only the CRA letter, but this to email, and it's not fair if you don't name Fred Douglas, Travis Brown, Kira Beard, Dr. Quentin Woods Sr., Reverend Lorenzo Lewis, Merton Clark, and Gene Sparks. Not only did my office email the explanation as well as these articles explaining how this would impact affordable housing, but we called not once. The email was sent on 8/8, called on 8/9, followed up on 8/15. To the best of my knowledge, none of these folks have stood up. So they may have concerns, but their concerns are not affordable housing. And it's very disappointing. They claimed that we didn't show up to their meeting. Many of us met with them personally, and not even to get a response about something that was very important to them, and then blast us about not showing up to one of their meetings is extremely disingenuous, rude, and this does nothing but prove that I don't know what their issues are, but it's not solving or dealing with affordable housing. And to be clear, I'm bringing this up about affordable housing. This really has nothing to do with Brevard County Public Schools budget. I don't want to get into that, but I do want to, again, mention that this was not a unanimous vote. Republican School Board member Matt Susan voted against putting this millage on the ballot. And I know there was an opinion from the county attorney's office that should anyone want to bring up, I'm more than willing to deal with. But I'm not even going to make a motion. I don't expect this to get any support, but I thought it was very important that something that would deal with affordable housing, we certainly give folks the opportunity to show up and discuss it. So that's the issue, Madam Chair. I'm more than willing to take any questions or deal with the opinion that came out, whatever, yesterday, if the board desires.
Commission? Kristine, you look like you don't want to speak.
Well, I'll speak.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you. Whether I personally support or do not support this school board measure isn't the issue that we're facing today. We're simply being asked to follow the law and confirm that the school board checked all the proper boxes before this measure goes to the voting public. So that's what we're doing here. And I would like to make a motion to,
You don't need to be.
no, we don't, okay. We're good then.
Commissioner Tobias, do you want to address this legal opinion? That's fine, just because I got it, but I just am curious, do you disagree with the legal opinion that we're legally obligated to place it on the ballot?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I, with your indulgence, may I ask the county attorney?
Sure.
Thank you for doing this on such short notice. I really appreciate, if the board would have gone the other direction, I think this would have put us in a bad position. I think you know that, and I don't think you've done a very good service. But I do have some questions for you. Before May 17th, 1954, was segregation legal in schools?
I'll say yes.
Thank you. Before June 14th, 2022, in the Dobbs decision, did women have a constitutional right to an abortion?
They did.
Are you aware of the February 24th, 1803 decision in Marbury v. Madison, in which the legislative branch of government are subject to review and possible invalidation by the judiciary?
I am.
Thanks. Do you know who Harold Fatzer is? F-A-T-Z-E-R.
No.
Neither did I. He is the attorney that gave the opinion to the school board in Brown versus the Board of Education. Do you know who Thurgood Marshall is?
I do.
That's the guy that overturned it. So while I appreciate your opinion, I certainly believe that we have the ability here to challenge, and I understand if you are reluctant to do that. I don't appreciate the way in which it was done, but I'm certainly not going to go into the opinion here because, quite frankly, I have no basis to question it because I'm not an attorney. But I do have the ability to question statute. I've given the reasons why, and I've given times when I think that, thankfully, people stood up and said the law was unjust, and courts have decided the same with them. I wish we would do that right now. I don't expect that to happen, however.
All right, I have some public comment cards, and I'll be back with you, Kristine, or Commissioner Pritchett.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Kristine for jumping in and filling in this position right now while we're in between county attorneys. You're doing a great job, and we certainly are throwing a lot at you right now. And thank you for dealing with all of our personalities. It takes thick skin, and I appreciate you, ma'am.
All right. Carol Vahansky? Sorry if I got that wrong.
Hello, my name's Carol Vyhonsky. I live in Melbourne, and I've lived there for 22 years. I'm here, of course, to speak on J5. In 2014, the voters passed a half-cent sales tax in Brevard to go to the schools. This replaced a 0.25 millage on our property taxes for the schools for critical needs. The sales tax was renewed by the voters in 2020, but now, in addition to that tax still being in effect until 2026, the school board now wants to hit us with a double whammy, a huge increase to our property taxes. Not 0.25 mil for critical needs like they requested the last time, but 4 times that amount with a full 1 mil increase. Now, many people don't know what 1 millage is. I know I didn't. I had to look it up to find out what it would mean, and I was shocked. This would result in hundreds of dollars of property tax increase per year for the average homeowner, $1 for every $1,000 of property value. So if you own a home worth $300,000 after the homestead exemption, you would end up paying $300 extra per year on property taxes. Would this be explained clearly on the ballot? I doubt it. I watched a county commission meeting last month where people were coming up here and complaining about a $5 per year solid waste disposal fee increase. $5 per year. This request by the school board would result in hundreds of dollars per year for homeowners, thousands for a multi-unit owner who, of course, as Mr. Tobias stated, would pass that costs onto their renters. Now, I know you will say that you are not imposing this tax increase. You are merely approving it to go on to the November ballot. However, there's a reason that the school board can't just directly put whatever tax increases they want to request on the ballot. It has to go through you first. You are to be the watchdogs or the gatekeepers who say, wait a minute, enough is enough, this is not the time, which is what school board member Matt Susan stated after he voted against putting this on the ballot. He told a reporter, this is not the time. I completely agree with that, and I hope that you will too. And I'm asking you to please rescind the resolution that was passed on May 26th and vote no on this school board millage proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Delaney?
Well, she's a hard act to follow. That was awesome. The issue isn't, do we want to pay teachers or not? Of course, we want teachers to have a living wage and we want them to be supported. The issue is that a very small portion of this millage is actually going to go to teachers. There's a lack of trust in the public. I've spoken to that here multiple times. There's no transparency when it comes to our budget, including the $8,000 raise Dr. Mullins just got by the school board. $8,000 bonus he just got in addition to a raise on his already $240,000 salary plus a district vehicle. That's a lot of money. Our school board has wasted money on training that doesn't work, including conscious discipline. Our discipline is out of control in our schools. Our teachers have told us, especially in the higher grades, that conscious discipline does not work. And we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. The first week of school, they sent out a survey asking about pronouns and asking if it's okay for them to use the name that the child has said to their caregiver or parent, violating the new laws that were just passed. The first week of school, the new bus system that they've spent a lot of money on isn't working. Parents can't access it. At Apollo Elementary School, the first day they lost 8 children. Second day they lost 4 children. And that's just at one elementary school. They're irresponsible with the way that they spend our money. Our air conditioners, for instance. Instead of redoing the whole system and waiting and budgeting and doing it the right way, they just piecemealed together new pieces. So now we have pieces of brand new multiple $1,000 equipment that is getting trashed because it's piecemealed together with the old equipment. This is not how we spend our money. We need a forensic audit before we give the school board any more of our money, and they also need training on accounting and negotiating contracts. And I hope, since this commission is full of conservative people, that you guys please hear me and see that what we're telling you is the truth. We cannot give these people any more of our money until we know where our money is going. Please, thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Mirsky?
Good morning, Madam Chair and County Commission Board. My name is Sarah Mirsky, and I live in Rockledge. I'm a wife, mother of 2 children who attend BPS, college student, taxpayer, constituent, stakeholder, registered voter, and I live in District 2 for school board and for county commission. This is my first time speaking at a county commission meeting. I'm usually across the street holding the school board accountable on a bi-weekly basis. First, I would like to address the issues the average Brevardian is facing today. Have you filled up your gas tank lately? Have you gone to the grocery store? We are facing, as you guys have talked about and considered today, an affordable housing crisis and what to do with it. So the average Brevardian is having to choose between putting gas in their car at the grocery store. I, as well as many other stakeholders, believe that the Brevard Public School Board has broken their corporate fiduciary responsibility. I personally have brought up meeting after school board meeting legitimate concerns about where our tax dollars are going. The majority of the school board at this time has broken the trust of parents. A couple examples are, Brevard County became one of the dirty dozen who required their students to wear a mask to continue their education well after school started for the year. Because of this illegal policy, the BPS board had an investigation opened up against them and were found guilty by the state. They had money taken away, it was returned back. But the fact that 3 board members would take that risk is not in the best interest for Brevard County taxpayers and stakeholders. Then there's the half-penny sales tax, which someone had already shared extensively about that. The school board has passed risky policy and is now being sued for it, having to hire outside counsel on the taxpayer dime. The 2 other points I want to make was that there was a county vehicle contract back in February past. I had asked for bids on that, have not gotten them, have not received that, and it was not towards school buses. So I don't know where that tax money went or why that money was needed for more county vehicles. One other quick thing is that I, as a mother, pointed out to the school board last fall about declining enrollment and their budget, only to be called a liar by the superintendent. With their financial presentation last month, they had talked about how enrollment declined and that they are facing budget issues because of that. I just want to speak in support of rescinding this resolution on the ballot this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, just a couple comments. And I just want to let you guys know we're really not watchdogs of the constitutional offices or other elected bodies. The kind of what we're doing here is almost a housekeeping, a flow through. You just saw we did it with the charter review stuff. There were some things that they needed us if we wanted to put them through, but there was 4 of them we had no choice. It just had to flow through. I do want to mention that I think the school board's going to have to really do their work to educate voters if they're going to get this passed. And I think as well as other people, they're going to need to educate voters as well. We do not have we have a smart community. So I think that's the goal, is get the word out. But the thing is, the community's going to have to decide if you want to self-impose a tax and do it, it's the community's choice. We're not going to decide it. And I'm glad that that has to go to a vote to up the millage for them. So I think that's a good thing to watch that happen. I do want to mention with what Governor DeSantis has done, he's made the schools a lot more competitive by allowing a lot of these grants go to private schools. And I think we've seen over 30 private schools rise up in the last year or 2. So it's becoming more competitive. So we're going to see the educational system become more competitive as well. And I think that's a really good thing, because then it'll hold the public schools a little bit harder in the fire with what they're doing, because you have all of these other, in a way, private businesses starting to rise up as far as educating our children. And I do know that it is really, really tough right now with what's going on with taxes. But if you think this is bad, wait till that inflation bill hits and over close to 100,000 IRS agents come out. I kind of read that, and I've had to deal with the IRS myself the last few days. So it is interesting days we're in, and I would encourage you, if you have faith, to start praying, because it is an interesting day. And I love this community. Glad I'm in Florida, and I'm so glad we're in Brevard County.
All right, and I'll just say, I'm the one that asked our county attorney for a legal opinion because, I think the school tax is outrageous. I mean, I'll be the first to say it, and I definitely won't be supporting it. But I wanted to see what our exposure would be, whether or not we were legally required. And this, multi-page analysis says that this has been settled case law, that we are legally bound to put this on the ballot. One of the speakers came up and talked about the school board being sued and how that's on a taxpayer dime. Well, the school board is just going to sue us if we don't do this, which would cause for a special election, which is, I haven't got that number because I would hope that we wouldn't get there. But Mr. Vacate, over $100,000 at least? I mean,
I believe it's over $350,000.
A special election countywide would be over $1 million.
okay, so over $1 million for a special election and the attorney's fees for being sued by the school board. And I think that they've already stated that they would sue us if we didn't put this on the ballot, correct, Kristine?
I don't believe they've made that position known,
Maybe, okay.
but it's probably very probable.
And your position is that this board is legally bound to put this on the ballot?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, I can only go off what my county attorney says, and I refuse. If it's going to be on the ballot, it's going to be on the ballot now, or it's going to be on the ballot later. I would hope that, you know, you would do your best to educate folks and let them know that this is something you don't support, and give them, you know, giving them your reasonings why. I mean, the school board members are elected by the public, so if they don't like the job they're doing, they can either be recalled, hopefully in the future, or they can, you can vote in people who share the same principles and morals and ethical beliefs that you do. I don't always agree with what the school board does. I have issues with their public speaking issues, with allowing parents to speak, and I watch those meetings and I just shake my head thinking, you know, we used to have our issues on this board, and I wouldn't want to be the school board right now, but I wish we had the discretion to say no, but unfortunately, legally, we do not. And with the potential expense of costing taxpayers over $1 million in a special election, and, you know, God knows how many tens of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. I mean, if the case law is settled, this isn't a segregation. I wouldn't equate it to talking about, you know, moving mountains and allowing people of color to attend school, because I don't think the courts would be excited to overturn something like this. I think that the case law is clear. Thank you. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for having this discussion. At a minimum, the fact that the Brevard Justice Association or group is not here is extremely telling, and I think that makes it worthwhile. I haven't made the motion because I think you guys have been very clear. But I have a compromise here, and you guys have all mentioned that you're a little disappointed with the way state statute is written. So what I would ask is that we produce a letter asking our delegation to clarify that and give us more authority to make that decision as to whether or put that on. So we can't, I don't want to say hide behind, but, you know, hide behind a legal opinion of an attorney.
Ask the state.
Ask our, Madam Chair, ask our state elected officials, state senators and state representatives to clarify. I've had this individual discussion as a heads up with one of our state representatives giving us more authority,
So you would want a state rep who doesn't have a law degree to tell you what his opinion is? I think I would stick with the attorneys and the existing case law.
Madam Chair, I'm not talking about that individual's legal interpretation. What I would like is, and he said he would be more than willing to champion, is to change state statute so this ambiguity doesn't come up again, so we don't have to get an opinion and fall behind an opinion as to why we're putting on a ballot. Give us authority. They can change state statute to give us authority to reject that
Act of the
ballot.
legislature.
That's what I'm asking. Ask our state representatives and our state senators. But I think that it's come from just me. I think that would mean a lot more, because I think everyone up here has been pretty clear that I won't be voting for this. I imagine most people up here won't be voting for this. And if we can prevent it legally, I think it would mean a lot more coming from all of us going to our delegation than just me. So I'm going to do it regardless, but I'd rather have it come from this board, is what I'm saying. So that's my compromise. If we could ask our delegation to clarify giving us authority moving forward by changing state statute, Madam Chair.
I would say by any governing body or otherwise, because I mean, the Melbourne-Tillman issue comes before us as well. I mean, you could almost, at least there's somewhat of a similarity there. We have to vote on that.
I think I supported that by giving authority, providing more authority. So my question to you is, would you like me to draft something and bring it back, or would you like authority
But
to make?
that's not going to be in time for this.
To be 100% clear, no. This is moving forward. So
Oh,
this
no, I know
situation-
that, but I'm just saying, so you're looking for the future.
I'm looking to the future, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I don't
I
have a
lost
problem
this
with
one a
that.
couple times. So my question is, would you like me to draft something, or would you like the board to give you authority to write it. I'm good with either one. There's not a
Do you want to
timing
bring
issue.
it to the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll bring it to the next meeting, Madam Chair.
Or
Thank you.
make it part of the
And there's
agenda
no,
if you have time.
just be clear, there's no motion here, so status quo stands. Thank you for your indulgence on this, Madam Chair.
All right, item J6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, it is requested, number one, authorize purchasing services to reject RFP P7-2221, Medical Director Services. And two, authorize purchasing services to reject all bids received for RFP P7-22-21. Number three, authorize staff to reissue an RFP for Medical Director Services with revised language. And four, approve the county manager to execute any necessary extensions to the medical director's contract.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobias. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I know you guys put a lot of work into all this stuff. It just seems so quick when we just pass a motion like that, but thank you. Thanks for all your work on this. All right, item K, public comment. Ms. Delaney?
Commissioner Tobias.
Oh.
J7.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped you.
It got moved all of a sudden, so
Oh, okay. I have an old agenda.
it was F7.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, and I apologize, this was my fault. I certainly did not mean this to be in consent, and it was pulled from consent to put on for a clarity issue. Anyway, last meeting, it was brought up to my attention that I had a couple spelling errors on my handouts, and the reason for this change to BCC 97 is to give me a little more time to proofread my slides. So it amends BCC 97 by bifurcating the presentations of not only, of the public as well as with the board. So that is the one change, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Commissioner Tobias, if it was just you, I'd be good with it, but we have elections coming up, and we've lived through some interesting past. So my recommendation would be that even if you didn't get out on time, that we have 24 hours at least sent to the other commissioners so we can review it and be ready. And of course, this is just for the county stuff. Anything you do, like when you used to show Billy in diapers, I'm fine with that as well. But I think just for us, I think if you can't get it to the agenda time, if it's just sent to the commissioners so that we have time to review it. Again, if it was just you, it'd be different, but I'm looking at many people running for offices right now, and I can just see that it could cause a situation in the future with some abuse, so if that would be okay.
Commissioner Tobias?
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the first time I've seen this, but this is different. So the people running for office out there would still have to abide by that. This would be us. I've only taken the 24-hour provision off and on of the elected officials.
If it's county business, I'm just thinking if we at least get it to the county attorney so she can just send it out to all 5 commissioners so that we can have an ability to just kind of look at it. And then you still have time probably to fix your typos. But even with me, I would hope if I'm doing a presentation, I'll just send it to them and have them send it to you so you know what's coming. This is a formal presentation for county business. Again, what you do in your board reports, I don't think that would make any difference. So you can still do billing as diapers and all those things you've done in the past. But I think this is just a good idea because we've had things in the past where they've gotten very, very personal with presentations, and I think we just need to be ready for that before it hits. You haven't, but I just think it's a good idea. We had to sit through hours of emails and why they were wrong and right, and I just think it's just a safety.
Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, that doesn't solve the I've had that issue before, that things come up in board reports that were substantive in nature, and many times there were costs associated with them. and I'd put something on the agenda trying to remove any type of cost to be brought up, because I don't think it's fair to the public, with the exception, of course, emergency costs that we had no control over. Wouldn't us allowing PowerPoint presentations? I have, Madam Chair, I have a compromise here that, would, I think, help to figure both of those. Number one is, instead of providing them to Dawn, that they be run through the county manager's office. And if we're concerned about it coming from one office and being presented up there, I think you had a good suggestion a while ago, that I've abided by, which was the disclaimer on it. I would be more than willing, because there is some gravitas when it's big and back there, but the disclaimer being on it. So I would be more than willing, and to be clear, I have no PowerPoints coming up.
I know.
I have no plans for PowerPoints. I just got, rightfully so, picked on for my poor spelling, and I just wanted to help solve this. So I'm trying to figure out what happens if like these handouts that I passed out. Those handouts were not attached to the agenda, to the best of my knowledge, and yet I brought them out. I thought the PowerPoints were more advantageous to the public, because they would have access to the source information that we're getting. If you want to go in a different direction, I'm certainly more than willing to do that and hand stuff out instead of put it up on the big screen. I just think it's probably best for the people that watch and people that participate to put it up there big when we get into complex stuff. If you want to go in a different direction, more than willing. But unfortunately, again, I think I had 4 or 5 things on this agenda, so time was short.
I know you're trying to not to deal with the tourist again, whatever that word was. It got me tickled. The Commissioner Zonka found it. But I see what you're saying, so maybe if we can think of a way, because I know you understand what I'm trying to protect us from as well.
And if I may, it says video, PowerPoint, and electronic presentations. It doesn't say anything about handouts or documents. I mean,
But Madam Chair, but handouts, I make handouts for everyone up here, plus the clerk, and public has access to that after the meeting, right? So my point is, when we put it up there for source material, then not only do the people in the audience, but those watching have access to it immediately.
I'm probably good if we go to county manager's office again, just in case we get a really doodle up here and they try to put something on there that's awful.
We're talking about commissioners, right?
We can get a doodle as a commissioner.
Madam Chair, I thoroughly trust the county manager.
Okay.
And I believe that I'm even willing to go further and put the disclaimer on there that goes even further than that. But either one, both, I think, and I've run that by him.
Good.
He said he was okay with that.
Okay, I'm good with that. Just worst case scenario coming up, so.
That'd help us if we have
or
a
the chair.
commissioner that would.
The chair could, kind of like what we've done before up to this point, give it to the chair in that way.
Yeah, make the chair responsible.
'Cause we can't talk
The chair
anyway.
is anyway.
Yeah, that's good, because then if Kristine gets something later, then she can just kind of.
Or Rita, or Joe Blow.
Madam Chair, not that
Or John Tobias.
there's not a sunshine issue. To be 100% clear, there's not a sunshine issue, but it's a step towards a sunshine issue. And the reason it's a step towards a sunshine issue, because there needs to be at least 2 things. There needs to be information transfer from one commissioner to another, and then there needs to be some response.
Mm-hmm.
This provides for that first step. Again, I don't think you would do that. I don't think anyone up here would do that. But Commissioner Pritchett, we don't know who's coming after us, and I don't think putting the temptation before us where there's no steps to sunshine if we provide it to the county manager, because he has no authority to vote.
Okay, I think maybe go to the county manager, and if he struggles with something, he can talk to the chair, and then they can remove it. How's that?
If that's the direction the county manager would want to go, I certainly would support that.
Or is that heartburn for you?
So the proposed motion would say that any PowerPoint presentation electronic by a commissioner would come through the county manager, the chair would not get it unless I had a concern with it and then would show it to the chair?
No, Madam Chair.
I thought that's what I was hearing.
This is just getting weird.
Yeah,
We're getting way in the
Can I
weeds.
just weigh in here, please?
I don't see what the difficulty is with 24-hour notice for a video, PowerPoint, or other electronic. It doesn't say anything about handouts. And obviously, the board has the discretion to deal with handouts. We've had issues with other PowerPoint presentations and attacks on people and all kinds of stuff, so somebody needs to put their eyes on it. I wouldn't want to put the county manager in a spot to say, you know, you're going to make the decision on whether or not you think it's too risky or risque or too obscene or too offensive.
I'm obviously going to follow the board direction. I'm just trying to understand what it is.
I'm just trying to give you some cover, because I don't think I'd want to put you in that position to have that subjective
And I
opinion.
do appreciate that.
So I'm thinking with the
wait,
24-hour.
wait.
Oh, you
My
snoozed, you
name's- my
lose.
name's up.
Yes.
No, I'm up
Okay.
next.
Jumping quicker.
I'm quicker.
Okay.
I think we're trying to fix a problem here that doesn't exist, and we're spending a lot of time on something that doesn't need to be talked about. Currently, I don't know if we even have a written policy, but we have a policy that if you want to put something up there, you contact the chair. We, in future boards, will elect the chair. They're not going to elect the chair that's going to approve something that would be annoying or offensive. So I don't see the purpose of this discussion. What am I missing?
Commissioner Tobias?
Well, you're missing a couple things. Number one, we do have a policy. It was included in the packet. It's called BCC 97. Number two, the policy you just described, or the practice you just described, is not what's currently in policy. So I think that's an issue, right, is the fact that we do have a policy, there are things in it, and you've just explained why we probably do need a policy. But listen, this isn't the cross I want to die on, and if you guys are not comfortable with having PowerPoint presentations up there, but I don't know, bringing up term limits at the last second, that was one I was willing to die on.
That was brought up as a discussion. That's all
That
it
was one I was willing to die on. This one, I'm not. So if you guys, want to go with the status quo, I'm not gonna fight on that one. So I'll pull back this. I'll pull back the proposed change, and we'll go with the status quo. But Commissioner Smith, it's BCC 97, and the policy you just mentioned is not policy. It's to give it to Don Walker and then be disseminated out if you do have a PowerPoint presentation in the future.
So, Madam Chair, the current policy as written wasn't specific as to how to handle commissioner electronic presentations. And so there was some question as to whether they needed to be following the same guidance that is followed by the public, or whether they needed to be treated differently. And so in an attempt to resolve that, that's where this came from. So the standard language is sort of silent, and staff was treating the commissioner presentations in a similar manner as the public presentations.
Commissioner Pritchett?
I just want to state what Commissioner Smith said. It's really what even though it might not be written policy, but through the years we've been doing this, the chair gets the whole agenda, looks at things, and if there was ever something you would like, say something like, we're not going to have those photos come up on the screen. So we really have done that. So that's really not, because it's your job to run the meeting. So, and you would have to decide what's appropriate or not appropriate. With the commission, it's a little different. So I think as long as it's county business, I think 24 hours is good. We shouldn't be throwing county business items that's on the agenda up unless it's under our board reports, which is a little different at that time too. So I think we might be chasing down a problem we don't have yet. But I do agree with Mr. Tobias. We're trying to avoid anything that would cause a break in sunshine, but I don't know that we've had that issue so far. So,
And I think our county attorney was trying to get us to clean up the language so they have clarity.
I think 24 hours would be fine if you're good.
And honestly, as long as the chair has it before the meeting, even if it's an hour before, as long as they can put their eyes on it to make sure it's not offensive. Because there has been some pretty offensive things that have made itself to this screen. And I think that we have an obligation, at least, you know, to keep a professional setting and to make sure that commissioners aren't abusing their power and abusing residents, whether we like the resident or not. It doesn't matter, but that's been done up here. I think that's kind of where that came from, that unwritten policy. So I'm fine with putting a policy in place. Maybe we lose the 24 hours, but I think it should go to the chair. Chair is ultimately responsible for the meeting.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to apologize to the county attorney. I had, my issue was with something else. When I saw this appear on the agenda, I was surprised that it was under my office. But, so I was only looking at it from one angle. I wasn't looking at it from the other angle. There does need to be a change here for the very reason that the county attorney pointed out, that just add in, that we can just add in us into the members of the public, so the same guidelines for everything from obscenity, pornography, and whatever is added in there. So I apologize, that was not my intent to misstate, but it was silent, and if we can just put us all in the same field, then we'll keep it the way it is, just with the addition of us. So I think that's probably the right way to go at this point. So motion to approve the change of policy BCC 97, putting commissioners into the same requirements as members of the public, which include everything stated in whatever section I, it looks like, video, PowerPoint, and other electronic presentations, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Tobias. Do I have a second? Motion fails for lack of second?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I point out this, everything you guys wanted is here.
But it's not necessary.
But your argument was that it was necessary because what we've had in. I give up, Madam Chair. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's A-okay.
I myself agree with it. I would just like to see that discretion in there
No,
that Commissioner
I'm okay.
Pritchett brought up. So Commissioner Pritchett, do you want to make a motion including the language that you've included?
I do. But can we bring it back to next meeting? Because I wasn't prepared for him to make that compromise, so I just kind of worked through this. So we're not in a hurry, right? So we
Right,
just bring
I
it back
agree.
this next meeting and just kind of tighten it up a little, clean it up?
Sure.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
Can we assign the county attorney to do that, and it comes under the county attorney's, the county attorney put it on the agenda, please?
Okay.
That way, they'll feel more clear that it's not coming out of my office.
Oh, I didn't write the agenda, so I assumed it was coming from your office.
Yes,
So it's-
I apologize for that. That's why I pulled it off. None of my stuff will be on consent unless it's a resolution, Madam Chair.
I'd be glad to give it a shot, too.
Okay. I'll get with the county attorney and you guys can figure it out. All right, moving on to public comments finally. I think she may have left. Katie Delaney? She was patient, but she's gone. All right, moving on to board reports. Mr. Vacate?
I don't have a report.
Ms. Schverick?
I do not.
Commissioner Pritchett? Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the July 19th, I suggested the board the idea of removing ourselves from the agreements regarding the athletic fields owned by Brevard County Public Schools, but maintained by Brevard County, as this money could be redirected into our own parks. As I am a commissioner whose district includes the South Parks area, along with Commissioner Zonka and parts of Commissioner Smith's district, my focus were on Gemini, D3, Hoover, D5, and Suntree, D4. After looking at the maps and where fields are located and where available county parks are located, the options beachside are extremely limited. In trying to keep the access to parks equitable through the south area, the idea of possibly a long-term lease of the current fields at Hoover is something I think we should consider. I don't think it's fair to put county resources into a temporary contract. We have long-term contracts with Brevard County Public Schools for a whole number of things. This would just be similar, so we would have the comfortability of putting substantial improvement in those parks. Suntree can be redirected to Wickham Park also in D4 if that's the direction. Gemini can be redirected to South Beach Community Center if that was idea, but it was more looking at Hoover in the geographic region. So what I'd like to do is make a motion, direct staff to contact appropriate parties with Brevard County Public Schools to gauge the responsiveness and willingness to enter into these long-term contracts with Brevard County schools, namely starting with the south part of the county, that being Hoover Middle School. If it works there, then maybe we can expand this program out. Again, this is not removing any dollars. This is, in fact, I'd like to see more dollars directed into the parks. But the one that I'm looking at in the south happens to be in your district, Madam Chair, and I certainly would like your buy-in to potentially enter into a contract to see if the school board is interested in doing that, Madam Chair.
And as long as we're committed to, in not just to parks, but as a commission, the commission stays committed to maintaining those parks. I'd like the idea of us having a little more control over the property.
Madam Chair, that is the absolute idea. When we only have it for a guaranteed 5 years, there's no point in putting in substantial
Not only that,
capital.
any events that they have supersede, any of the counties. So I don't like that either.
Yeah, that's why I would like us to be in control of that, Madam Chair. That is the idea, and hopefully that would be worked out. Largely, those fields are not used by Hoover. I've met with the assistant principal there, and they only use a small portion. So for security reasons, and there may need to be fences, but that's something that could be worked out in negotiations to see if we want to go in this direction.
Great.
That's my favorite idea of yours all day.
So there is a motion there because I think it means a lot more if we direct, if staff knows they have support of the board into negotiating with another government body.
Motion by Commissioner Tobias, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
No report.
And I don't have any report. I just want to wish those kids heading off to college good luck, and we'll see you on the weekend when you need your laundry done. With that, meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any